The words of the author Ragnar Redbeard. Plenty of people speculate that that may be anyone from Jack London to any number of literary figures, but under the pen name Ragnar Redbeard, plenty of worthwhile quotes. And it's always good to start with a quote because someone's always said it better. Remember that line from American History X? Great film. Popular lies have ever been the most potent enemies of personal liberty. The year that we are emerging from, those popular lies have been one of the most pervasive elements of the cultural zeitgeist. And all of them, as we referred to last week with Mencken's quote about boogeymen, it's all based in fear and they're all false. Take a good look at my latest background on my personal page. That's not just a pithy little quote, that's a fact. Fear is a liar. Fear is the product of lies. Fear is what they, the mysterious they, will always use to keep us set back on our heels. Now, it's not that there aren't very real things to be afraid of as we head into the coming year. Just this one little pick that I took when I was out on a provision run yesterday. That's 5 dozen eggs, and I want you to take a good look at the price on that. $25.60. $25.60 for 5 dozen eggs. Now that just a scant couple of months ago was $7 and change, which in turn was up from 2 months before at $5 and change. Two things that you use besides fear to control a populace: food supply and mobility. Now, of course, I posted this and the predictable suspects came out saying how it was all out of context and way too much was being made of it, and the usual. Well, there's that. One thing I will not abide is being gaslit, and gaslit on that kind of level is some definite intellectual gymnastics. I'm not talking your run-of-the-mill intellectual gymnastics. I'm talking Olga Korbut 72 on the uneven parallel bars intellectual gymnastics. I'm talking 76 Nadia on the balance beam intellectual gymnastics, and it just keeps pouring out of them. Men like this, standing in front of a creation of his own mind and his own intellect, and of course the labor of people that do, in fact, respect the man and are being paid very well for their trouble. Men like this used to be revered. We used to respect, treasure, look up to men like this, and yet the fear, yet the popular lies have people so twisted up that there are actually millions of people literally praying for this man to fail. Fail in an effort to advance our species. Fail in an effort to take our species interplanetary. Fail to accomplish one of their own stated goals of making electric cars a viable possibility. Fail in the effort to free people's homes from the overarching control of an electrical grid. They pray for this man to fail. Again, all based on popular lies. They will sell you that this man, unprovoked, walked into a country after watching his people be slaughtered for a period of 8 years in the Donbass region. They will tell you that he is the new Hitler. They will tell you that he wants the empire back. If one cannot see the difference between Soviet Russia and Putin's Russia, I would normally recommend reading, but I don't think any amount of reading is going to save a person so fucking deluded. And yet, the popular lies have convinced us that he is the villain. The popular lies have convinced us that this coked up clown shoe is actually the hero. So much so that last check we have given or promised to give 150 billion, that's billion with a B, to this man who runs the most corrupt country on his continent, well known for decades, dating all the way back to the Soviet era for that matter. Corruption among corruption. And we have given him $150 billion of our tax money unaccounted for. I should point out that the entire Russian military budget amounts to barely over 70 billion. We have given this man over twice that and acquired no more than a stalemate on the battlefield, and yet still refuse peace talks, all due to popular lies. Now, we could hang it on this guy looking dazed and confused as he normally does, but it's not like he's making the calls. And I know that due to the popular lies, a lot of people would tell you that me even suggesting that he's not making the calls is some tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. I mean, you know, the prospect that some supervillain is behind the scenes talking in a German accent, dressed in some weird fucking costume, calling all the shots and taking the world into a dark place. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous, right? 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 Anyway, more on Darth Schwab later. You knew we weren't going to get through all of this without a quote from Orwell or two. If you want a vision of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. Now, people take this quote out of context. This was actually dialogue between Winston and O'Brien. As Winston is being tortured, O'Brien says this to Winston: if you want a vision of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. Now, what preceded that was Winston insisting that the spirit of humanity could not be broken, even as he was being tortured. And this was the lie that O'Brien sold to him in his wasted state. That humanity was dead. That if you want to look at the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. There's things that this quote doesn't take into account, and that is not just the spirit of humanity as represented by Winston in 1984, but the strength of the Western spirit, the strength of the American spirit, at least what is left of it. And in spite of all the black-pilled popular lies, in spite of all the things that are in the background in this graphic, civil asset forfeiture, gun control, truth suppression, confiscatory taxes, vaccine mandates, all of these things, the pervasive message remains: we are not government property. Coming out of a year full of lies, as we get into the sermon later on, we're going to get into the importance of being able to differentiate the strength of your spirit versus what the world will try to bury you with. In the meantime, Orwell was right about this: he who controls the past controls the future. He who controls the present controls the past. I pray going forward into the new year that we have the discernment to discern fact from fiction, to discern true history from the party narrative. I do not believe we are lost. I look forward to the new year. I pray for all of you to be blessed with that strength and blessed with that wisdom. Welcome to 2023, boys and girls. For all that it may bring, we're still here, we're still breathing, and we're still up for the fight. The opinions expressed by the Reverend are his own and no one else's on the planet. Not friends, not foes, not supporters, not detractors, not sponsors, and I cannot stress this enough, certainly not employers. They've been adjudicated thought crime in all jurisdictions. Consider yourself warned. They are coming from the heart. They're guided by the mind. They are guaranteed to choke you with a New Year's Day dose of truth cock. Boys and girls, welcome back. It is time once again for the Sunday sermon. Let me know how the sound is, man. I've adjusted a couple of things on here. Let me know if we're having some difficulty with it. Hell, it may already be in the comments. I just haven't had a chance to look over. Everybody in for the drum roll. Boom. Coming hard, charging out of the starting gate. Hopefully we got everything under the board. Here we go. 2.5 hours late. We're going to give a little roll call. Happy New Year, first of all, boys and girls, and ladies and gentlemen, and Mr. and Mrs. America, and all the ships at sea, as Joey is fond of saying. I love you guys, man. I appreciate you sticking through a very, very rough year. Brother David on board. Let's just go ahead and get on with the roll call. Find out which ones of the usual suspects are here early. Brother David, Happy New Year to you too, sir. Very fucking proud of everything that you have fucking accomplished. Stay the course. Stay strong. Brother Roman, and of course Carrie is also going to be on board here somewhere from opiumtales.com. Happy New Year. Oh, my goodness, man. What Roman, Carrie, Joel, Emily, David, hello. Mr. Joey, Sultan of Sarcasm, the original Cinder Sister herself, Miss Emmy, Brother Mike, Stone. Good to see you, brother. Love you, man. Happy New Year. By the way, hit me up to my inbox when we get out of here. I need to get some information from you. Brother Wayne Sharp, all the way back to the 80s, man. All the way back to my high school days, if you can believe it. You know, before social media existed. That's about as far back as most people can remember. We were here before the internet. Good to see you, Wayne. Happy New Year, man. There's Carrie. Looking for you, man. Looking for you. Happy. Oh, man. Brother James Pearson. My prayers for your strength in your time of trial, your time of loss. Much love, much respect. You are my heart. You are my brother. Thank you for being here, man. Thank you. Oh, Brother David, good to see you. Who else have we got, man? We got some, yeah, man, we got some, let me see. Yeah, Brother Tom showing up. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Like your post earlier from Surviving the Kali Yuga. That guy makes my day. Getting my butt kicked, setting up a Bluetooth mouse. Send help. I can do the usual tech support thing right now and ask if you've turned it off and turned it back on again. Please don't hit me, Ryan. Please don't hit me. I hate it when you hit me. Brother G-Dub on board. Happy New Year. False evidence appearing real. Excellent comment on fear. We're going to get into much more of that. Bodie. Sup, fam? Good to see you. Right back at you, brother. Brother James, today feels like a Rip Van Winkle moment. Woke up in 2023, seemed like it was just 20. Talk about a nap. Yeah, well, some of us have been asleep at the switch, and some, like you and most of the usual suspects here, have been wide the fuck awake. Even though it's been a fever dream, we have coasted through. We are greeting another year, and it's a wonderful fucking thing. G-Dub, as of midnight, 70,000 rigs in Cali, anything older than 2010 are no longer allowed in rest, so your thought supplies were secure before this wave. Oh, brother, we've got so much more coming our way, man. So much more. Retweeted on Twitter. Thank you, Brother Roman. Thank you. I appreciate that. By the way, guys, you hear me say it all the time. All of my sinner sisters, all of my prophets of doom, my reverends, rangers out there. If you are on, you have your own social media presence, any of the platforms you are, up to and especially ones that I have been booted unceremoniously off of, repost this shit. Share it. Spread the gospel. Let's kick the word out there, man. Let's fucking kick up the coverage a little bit. Glassing eggs. It sounds like what Amber did. Very well played, Mr. David. I'm going to fade this bumper music out, man. We're going to get, I'll tell you about the shirt here in a minute, because a couple of people had asked me about it, and it turns out I got kind of surprised on some stuff. But it's a conversation starter, and it works, and I guess it's appropriate to be kicking off the new year. Anyway, man, Gonna go ahead and fade this on out. The bumper music, as always, name of the band is Red Desert. From the smoldering embers and ruins of the once great city of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Name of the band is Red Desert. Name of the track is Older, No Wiser. Every week I get a little bit older. Entering another year, and every week you guys get to decide if I've gotten any wiser. Some weeks I do better than others. Happy to have you guys on board, man. Happy to have you guys on board. We're going to kick this thing off, man. Coming out the starting gate on this new year. And we're going to make it count, man. And I'm not going to bore you with platitudes and stupid shit like that. We all know that in the final analysis, it's just another day. And that's all we have is a day in front of us and what we choose to do with it. Here is something that has helped me. You guys know, man, I'm going through a lot of changes, a lot of differences in perspective, different epiphanies, trying to adjust my mindset for what is. And that isn't always the most savory thing in the world to do. Oh, yes. Thank you for that, Roman. Yeah, Elon is doing a kick-ass job. In spite of the what? In spite of the what? What was it? What was it? The popular lies? Yeah, he is doing a great job over there. And I like that you are speaking from a position of authority on that. Been going through a lot of stuff, realigning my perspectives, trying to put myself in a more positive position going forward. And again, sparing the fucking platitudes. Life is fucking rough. Life is a fucking fight, man. And self-help books aren't going to do it. Gaining wisdom from people who have lived through the things that you were trying to wrestle with, that is definitely one method, but a lot of times it comes down to just the most simple things. And something that, again, I don't know if you guys follow the Norse Mentality podcast from Norse Fitness Gym. Those guys over there, they're doing some great stuff over there in the Carolinas, back in Tar Heel country where I grew up. But one of the things that they're really, really big on is, it's something that I picked up, being grateful and vocalizing how grateful you are and for your blessings. And something that I've done every morning for the past several months is out loud before I roll out of bed. And, ordinarily I wouldn't share this kind of stuff, but I'm going to share it with you. Maybe you guys will get something out of it. But before I roll out of bed, I open my eyes, I focus, I take a deep breath, and I say out loud, vocalize, the gods have gifted me and blessed me with another day. Let's make something of it. Doesn't seem like anything. It almost seems like something you get out of a fucking self-help book. But it's working. It's really it helps to set my day in the right frame. And of course, make your bed very first thing, but that's another thing entirely. We can give our props to all the people that have shared that little bit of wisdom with us already. Let me go ahead and get the sponsor shout outs out of the way. First things first, and then we'll get off into the meat of this thing, and then I can take my little trip down Tangent Street, and we can roll. First and foremost, because he's here and because I love the guy, Roman from opiumtales.com. Roman and his lovely wife Carrie, both very dear friends of mine. Roman and I go all the way back to 1988, if you can believe it. Was there internet then? Was there cable television then? Okay. But in any case, definitely go check him out at opiumtales.com. You can also follow him on Twitter. He will give you the log on info over here in the comments to find him on Twitter. Opiumtales.com. They are the erotic pinups and portraits people. Roman has always been super creative guy. Once upon a time, believe it or not, before these hands and everything became so nerve damaged, these fingers actually played a fairly mean guitar, rhythm guitar anyway. And Roman and I jammed together. He was and remains a fucking tremendously gifted metal guitarist. Fucking shreds. In any case, his creative endeavors have now transcended. They've gone over to the realm of watercolor art. They are the erotic pinups and portraits people over at opiumtales.com. Beautiful watercolor work, beautiful naked women, and testosterone driven commentary. If you can't find something to like there, you're probably watching the wrong fucking video. So move on over to your safe space. But in any case, Roman, uh, thank you for everything that you've done for me on a personal level and everything that you've done for the program. I certainly appreciate you. That is opiumtales.com, the erotic pinups and portraits people. Go check them out. And of course, where would we be without my Viking brothers, Casey and Dusty Tellison, Pitmaster Dusty over at Nordic Smoke Barbecue, the only legit barbecue in the inland northwest. Period. End of statement. Fucking done. Rolling into the new year, they're going to be updating their social media. They're going to be getting some really big things together. They will be out in the Viking Longship, the big smoker trailer. They will be hitting events. They handle catering. They will do holiday birds. They will do whatever. They are fucking amazing. And being North Carolina by way of Texas, I'm not easily impressed by barbecue. These guys are the real fucking deal. Plus, they're amazing human beings. And so we're happy to have them on board, both as personal friends and as sponsors of the show. So thank you all for being here. Thank you to Roman and Kerry. Thank you to Casey and Dusty. And the first thing that we're going to jump off into here, you guys already know. What the first segment is going to be, uh, because because it's a popular fucking segment, and it's always a little departure. I have my bullet points. I've always got my bullet points of stuff that I want to explore. Um, Ryan, you guys know about Brother Ryan. He's the guy that opened the door for me to begin my journey as a crane operator. And you've seen all of the wonderful things that have happened to my life as a result of that. I love him like my own flesh and blood. One of the things that we bonded over early is our shared quality of both being repositories of useless information. um, but when it comes to things that are obscure or esoteric, he's always got me on the esoteric stuff. Always. Hands fucking down, I bow and genuflect, the esoteric stuff. And there's times that we'll actually discuss things that we're going to do on the rabbit hole that I'm just like, dude, no. No, like I can't, dude. I can't process that. I can't ask anybody else to process that. And then I forget that some of this esoteric stuff is right in y'all's wheelhouse. Some of you guys are fucking mathematicians and things like that. In any case, every week we do the rabbit hole. It's just a little departure, just a little something that you might not have explored. Historical place that you haven't visited intellectually, a different obscure part of history of which you may not have been previously aware. See how good I was with that? Yeah, didn't end the sentence with a preposition, because I'm a grammar nationalist. Yeah. Anyway, so every week we do the rabbit hole. Some weeks we go historical, some weeks we go conspiratorial, some weeks we go esoteric, in which case it's everything I can do to fucking keep up with Ryan. This week we're going a little historical, and it's going to be a little dark. I'm not doing dark for dark's sake anymore, and I'm not griping for the sake of griping anymore. I told you, we're taking these things in a different direction now. But the one thing that I stress is that we always acknowledge the darkness, and we're going to get into more of that when we go into wisdom for the new year part of the program. But you always acknowledge the darkness, because ignoring the darkness allows it to fester and rot and grow and eventually overwhelm all of the things that are good. Epstein's sponge body conspiracy. Not this week, G-Dub. Not this week. I got something dark though. You're gonna like it. We all know that if there's one thing that we can guarantee about the left, and literally every leftist regime, every communist regime throughout history has proven this time and time again, is that the people who fight the hardest initially for the revolution are the first to be stood against the wall once the revolution is complete. Um, we also know that even this country, under unscrupulous leadership, does not do what it could and what it ought to do for people who have fought and sacrificed for it. I'm going to give the historical illustration that I'm going to give here about what happened in Soviet Russia. But I want you to take into account that I am not exonerating people right here in this fucking country and the political attitude that would be callous enough, while not going to this length, I believe the moral equivalent of. Very famous general, Soviet general, Georgy Zhukov. Georgy Konstantinovich Zhukov, if we are going to be entirely fair. Historians regard him, some historians regard him as the greatest general of World War II on either side. I disagree. I'm not. I don't have my doctorate in history, not even my master's. Fuck, I don't have a degree. I did one semester at community college, so take it for what it's worth. But I consider myself a devout and astute observer and student of history. I believe that Zhukov's reputation, more often than not, had nothing to do with his leadership skills, but being the right general in the right place at the right time and being utterly ruthless. Now, if you know your Clausewitz, some would say that that is, in certain situations, what makes a great general. We're not dealing with that right now. He siege at Stalingrad, siege at Leningrad, the campaign through Belarus, the conquest of Germany, pushing the Nazis all the way back to Berlin. He presided over all of that. There are a number of things, however, that Zhukov isn't remembered for that should be, including one famous exchange with Eisenhower, which Ike had the weight of the D-Day invasion on his fucking shoulders, and he carried that. This is not a guy who is easily rattled. But he asked Zhukov how they were able to so quickly clear the minefields without the massive loss of armor that would have been expected in one campaign in particular. And Zhukov answered him with a straight face, without batting an eye. He was not willing to risk the tanks. They were too important. So he sent waves of Soviet soldiers to run through the minefields. They figured out where the mines were, and they didn't have to give up any tanks. Zhukov was also one of the pioneers of what was called the human wave attack, where, if you're familiar with the Papasha 41, Papasha 43, 41 in particular, they had drum magazines, 50 to 100 rounds. They would line up 20, 30, 100 people, send them over the wall, storming at a German MG-42 position. And they would run and hose, and the MG-42s would cut them to pieces, and they would send another wave. The MG-42 would cut them to pieces, they send another wave. Eventually, sheer attrition would overwhelm the machine gun size. Do you get a feel? You guys tracking? You feel me on this? Zhukov was a brutal motherfucker who had very little regard for the lives, well-being of his own troops. Again, in terms of sheer ruthlessness, if you're wanting to win a fucking war, you could do a lot worse than having this guy at the helm. But here's where it gets interesting. It wasn't enough that, and this is where the military end of it transcends into the political. This is the actual rabbit hole. In 1949, 70th year, 70th year, literally thousands, tens of thousands, knowing the Soviet tendency to underestimate their own brutality, maybe even hundreds of thousands. Veterans of the Great Patriotic War celebrated, used as propaganda instruments. Look at our strong and powerful soldiers. Look at the devotion and the sacrifice that they have made for Mother Russia. And you hoist them up on that flag and you watch the population fucking salute. But now it was becoming untenable. The Soviet economy was never in good shape. That was laid bare by a certain cowboy president in the 1980s. But throughout the history of the Soviet Union, their economy was never solid. Top-down planning, the predictable result of top-down economies, and central planning, and communism. They were in bad shape. They were having to pay to support all these wounded veterans, ones who had miraculously survived running through fucking minefields, lost legs, lost limbs, lost function, sight, permanently maimed, disfigured, invalids. It was becoming untenable to support them. There was a lot of money coming out of the Soviet treasury to keep these guys alive and breathing. You know, our brave heroes. We got to do whatever it takes. But it was also looking bad for the regime. Keep in mind who was in charge. All of these cripples, all of these limbless men, invalids, not only a weight on the Soviet economy, but gosh darn it, it just looks bad. Just looks bad to have all these wounded soldiers, all these wounded veterans. It might deter people from giving their best efforts. It's not like they had a choice. It wasn't a volunteer army. Conscription was the rule. But it still might, I don't know, it just might make people think that war is something that gets people hurt and killed. And literally overnight. And Zhukov was behind this, literally overnight. Tens of thousands. And again, underestimating. Tens of thousands of Soviet Russian, got to draw the distinction, Soviet Russian war veteran invalids rounded up. There's an island called Valam, Valaam. Revisionist historians would like to say that it was a camp where they sent them all to be cared for. The truth of the matter is, they were bad for propaganda. They were bad for Russian public image. They were sent, some were mercifully shot before being thrown into mass graves. Some were buried alive. History does not record their names. You can look up samovars. 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 They were the young. And the usual propaganda terms that you can expect from a leftist authoritarian regime were used to justify what they had to do. And so the bulk of them disappeared practically fucking overnight. Taken to islands, taken to camps, shot, buried alive, disposed of. History will not record their names. And it was General Zhukov. Comrade General Zhukov, famous Soviet general who presided over this entire affair. So, for your search words, you can look up Samovars, Samovars. You can look up Valam, and you can also look up Lake Ladoga. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If not, Sonny, please don't hit me too hard. Valam, Valaam, and look up Zhukov. Again, a lot of revisionist history will be found there with regard to that. But here is where I'm going to draw a parallel and make it abundantly clear that I'm not just pointing a finger and then exonerating. Yeah, that would definitely, Mike, that would be one way to put it. But interesting that you say that, because though we don't, at least not yet, for the love of God, at least not yet, we haven't taken it to that level, to where they have become, to where our veterans have become, just bad for our image. And we've taken to like locking them away or burying them alive. We haven't gotten it to that level. But the attitude, that pervasive attitude, you do not have generals anymore, the likes of which we had through World War II, and arguably some into Korea and Vietnam, where thought was given to the troops and what they were putting on the fucking line. That unnecessary risks were not taken. That, yes, there will always be a principle in any military operation of acceptable losses. But to the level of seeing soldiers as cannon fodder for an empire. I do not believe in my heart of hearts, in my observation of history, that Eisenhower saw the men who took part in the D-Day invasion as disposable, as cannon fodder for the empire. This is what they're here to do. They are an asset. We won't, I don't believe they were seen like that. As arrogant as Montgomery was, I don't believe you could even really make a case that Montgomery thought that way during Operation Market Garden and all the fuck ups that happened on the way to Arnhem. But this new breed of generals, and this won't turn into a lecture on woke politics because it's self-evidentiary. I don't need to belabor the point. You take a look at our number one adversary on the world stage. No, I'm not talking about Vladimir Putin, no matter how much the popular lie would have you believe. I'm talking about China, Xi Jinping, what they are doing to their military, what they are doing culturally that is reflected in their military. You take a look at this new breed of generals now. Look at the quality of soldier that they are fucking turning out. And moreover, look at the attitude. God forbid, my humble opinion, God forbid that we get into any major international conflict. God forbid. Because not only have they turned out people who are incompetent, incapable, and listen, I have nothing but respect for the boots on the ground. Don't get it fucking twisted, okay? But look at the push for the attitude. That is why the best soldiers, or the best material that would have turned out those soldiers, is walking away. It's why they can't meet their recruitment goals now. They have literally turned their back on every major cultural value this country has. They are outright rejecting those sons of the South, primarily white young men from the South. Sorry, but there it is. Hillbillies, hicks, rednecks, throwbacks, Fuck those people. We're creating a brave new military. And you can bet, and this is why the Sons of the South are fucking walking away from it, these generals have the attitude that these men and women and undecideds are cannon fodder for the empire. Even as we continue to engage in wars for empire, even as we continue to put our military assets and our ridiculous policy decisions, we keep turning out weaker, more incompetent, lower level military forces, and the men who are in charge of them see them as disposable assets. We have not gotten to a level of a Valam. We have not gotten to a level that Zhukov presided over in the Soviet Union in 1949. However, the mentality is the same, and the end result, therefore, is inevitable. So do your research and pray that we have a change of course. Zhukov's disposal of invalid Soviet veterans. That's your rabbit hole. Boy, that was bright and cheerful to kick off, wasn't it? How about a little sip of liquid enthusiasm while we wait for you guys to catch up? Remember, nothing but respect for the boots on the ground. But the reason somebody like Eisenhower, the reason why somebody like Eisenhower would hold their lives in a higher degree of reference is because Eisenhower had presided over war. He had seen bloodshed up close. Patton, for all his madness, he had seen it up close. Going back as far as presidents, Teddy Roosevelt led the Rough Riders up fucking San Juan Hill during the Spanish-American War. How do you think he would have handled a European war as opposed to the way Woodrow Wilson handled it? Worth looking at. This is the whole purpose behind this kind of speculation, is to get your mind thinking in that direction, to kind of take you outside your box for a minute. Give you a look. Because there's always deeper concepts at work. It's never what's actually going on. It's the significance of what is going on. It's the mindset behind what is going on. Dig deeper, man. Dig deeper. Remember the signal, not the noise. That noise. Distractions. What's the signal, man? What's really driving this thing? Treat everything in life like that. You're going to come away with a much broader set of ideological horizons. Hard to train guard dogs. Chief, as usual, spot on, brother. Spot on. Hard to train guard dogs in a petting zoo. No shit. Mike, because you also served, most of the, wanted to throw that in, most of the good men I served with walked away or gave up their commissions. They hated the new, softer military. Well, yeah, and a lot of the generals are leaving for the same fucking reason, and it's almost as if that's by design. A massive purge of generals took place. And Mike, you remember Professor Howell, may he rest in peace, used to go on about that incessantly, about how the purge of the old generals and the old leadership was deliberate, because what was coming was ugly. They needed to get rid of anybody who might stand up against that. So whether they were pushed out, or whether they were fired, or whether they had trumped up charges, or whether they were bought out, what the fuck ever, purge of the generals was real. So yes, it's not just the boots on the ground that are walking away. I can't blame them. As you said, they have reason. I am partially deaf. Severe tinnitus, sip of liquid syphilitic enthusiasm. Well, you know, depending on Depending on how the party for New Year's went, you can't totally rule that out. There you go. Yep. Uh, Woodrow Wilson. Don't get me started. Yeah, yeah, we could definitely go down that trail a little bit. Yeah, definitely. Oh, it's definitely by design. I completely agree. In any case, yeah, take a little bit of a bigger picture. There's some big picture stuff for you too. And again, this is something you'll see it, man. There's some things that I post pretty much every year. Um, some things that I post pretty much every year. Iron in the Soul from Henry Rollins. I will always post that at least once a year because it's worth revisiting, and I'll put that. Yes, yes, and you're spot on with that, George. The jab does play big into this, and that was part of the reason for the mandate. That's why they're fucking terrified that the new Congress is looking to repeal the fucking mandate because they had just gotten it sorted out to the ones who were going to play and the ones who weren't going to play. You know, wouldn't take much to say put a tattoo on the old school ones to make sure that we can differentiate. Again, speculation. Things that I will always post at least once a year. Iron in the Soul from Henry Rollins. I will post that at least once a year. I normally posted that on the Primal Iron Strength Training page until Facebook buried that page, destroyed it, absconded with it, ripped it from my grasp this year, um, as well as um, what as well as what they did with my Survival Defense Systems page. The Reverend Bart page is still up, but I have no control over it. It will sit there until they finally decide to get rid of it. It will sit there like a fucking history museum. If anybody wants to revisit it, the bulk of all of my old sermons is still there. The pictures, the posts up until October of last year, still there. But I would post Iron in the Soul on Primal Iron Strength Training. Um, there is a humor site, Cracked. You guys can remember the magazine from when we were kids. Yeah, it's a humor site, but some of the hardest hitting stuff that really make you feel something, comes from that fucking site. And there are two that I post every year. One is, the 6 rules that will make you a better person, right? Hard fucking ugly truths, man. Little kick to the nuts. And predictably, the weaker among us came out with a retort to it about how all of this is just more posturing and toxic masculinity, and it's really making me feel bad about myself, and I just it's saying that I should rise and challenge myself and that I'm supposed to be worth something. That's just icky. Yeah, because it sounds like all fucking sound to me. Sorry. But anyway, yeah, I post that every year, and there is another one called "We've Survived." We've survived another year. Make it count. And I post it sometime between Christmas and New Year's. I just put it up on my personal page. You guys can go look at it. Definitely worth the read because it will give you perspective on yes, absolutely, Chief. Yep, that's yeah, funny how that works. And I'm sure in with your experience in law enforcement, Chief, I'm sure that you could probably at least have a feel for what's got to be going on inside of major metropolitan police departments as well, or the conflicts between metropolitan police departments and their corollaries at the at the county sheriff's level. Yeah, the leadership and the chain of command essential, and we'll maybe jump back into that here. We've survived another year. Okay, we've survived another year. Make it count. I just posted that, and I need to go back and post the 6 rules that'll make you a better person on my personal page. Uh, Little surprise I got waiting in the wings. There will be another manifestation of the Reverend Bart fan page. I am making that happen. It'll probably be shut down again, but I'm not one of those people to go quietly. You know, what was that Ice T? What was that line of the Ice T album? Told you, should have killed me last year. Um, yeah, yeah, dude, I'm poisoned with legs on that front. We survived another year, make it count. Goes into the true nature of why we gather together on the holidays. Why, in our evolutionary history, we place such importance on it. The long and the short of it is because there's a long, cold winter ahead. The reason why you want to see the faces of all of these people, these loved ones, back then was because when you're sitting across the table from them, there was no guarantee you were going to make it through that long, cold winter on the tundras of North Asia or the plains of Northern Europe or Scandinavia. There was no guarantee. It's not like evolving in a temperate climate where if you don't hunt today, it doesn't matter. The food will be there tomorrow. It is specifically that sense of temporal disparity vis-a-vis actions versus consequences that gave us the higher constructs, the higher intellectual constructs necessary to create the sustainable civilizations that we have created, both in Europe and in North Asia. We've been over that before. But leaving aside the social, political, and cultural ramifications of that, why was it so important to travel, to be with family over those holidays? Why was it so important to essentially waste precious resources on decorations and trinkets and gifts? Why? Because you might not see that person again. There was no guarantee that they were going to make it through that long, cold winter. You could be looking at them for the last time and you would not know it. That is why it is important to gather together for the holidays. That is why it is important to let people know if you love them and that they count on a daily basis. That is why it is important. I did not know Christmas of 2021 that my father would not be alive to wish a Merry Christmas in 2022. There are no guarantees. I have a dear friend who is on board for the program who recently lost a parent. And I promise you that he did not know the last time he saw her that it would be the last time. So again, it may be just an article from a humor site, but there's some insight. Take that insight. Going forward into this next year, this new year, this first day, 2023, going forward, the people who you love and the people who love you, let them know. Because it's not a long, cold winter on the North Asian tundra or a long, cold winter in the pine forests of Northern Europe or the fjords of Scandinavia that we're facing. But the uncertainty is still there. We are going and heading into, we're already in it, tumultuous times. You can rest assured that it's going to get worse before it gets worse, and then worse before better. So let those people know. Make sure that you left everything on the table. That's how I'm coping with my father's passing. It was all, we left it all on the table. Went out knowing exactly where we stood with each other. The people that count, whether they are blood kin, whether they are dear friends that you consider your flesh and blood, let them fucking know. Because tomorrow is not guaranteed. Tomorrow is not guaranteed just on a regular basis of ordinary happenings, day-to-day life, let alone what the world can unleash on all of us. Drop of a fucking hat. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So going forward, let people know. Make it a point to let people know. That's a reflection on the year that just got put behind us. What are some others? What are some others? Just from your experience. What has this year taught you about yourself? How much growth were you able to accomplish over the course of the past year? Beyond resolutions, fuck resolution. What did you set out at the beginning of 2022 expecting out of life? Did the reality at the end of the year meet those expectations? Don't worry about disappointing other people. If you look back at how your year ended versus what you had in mind when it began, did you disappoint yourself? There's always that optimism once we cross a threshold, whether it's whether it's a new year or a birthday, whatever that is. There's always that enthusiasm coming out, and then life happens. Those ordinary, mundane activities happen, and suddenly a year. Chief, I love you. You know that. Suddenly a year gets behind you because life happens. You got to cover mundane things, and all those high goals that you had coming out of the starting gate. You don't necessarily lose your enthusiasm, but you're distracted. You've got to keep up here. And then you look back and, in the words of Roger Waters, and then one day you find 10 years have got behind you. No one told you when to run. You missed the starting gun, son. Day-to-day life can be like that. One thing that helps me, and this is another something it's been a part of me, and Roman can tell you this. Me and my day runner have been inseparable for as long as he can fucking remember, at least dating back to what I think I picked up my first one like 1991. This will help you. A lot of people say journal, right? I don't necessarily journal, but I make sure that the fillers that I use are the monthly ones with plenty of space to write, so I can scribble the line items for the beginning of the day, and the rest of it works as a de facto journal. How am I feeling today? What's going on today? And I say that, the reason for that, the motivation behind it, because the mundane day-to-day stuff you'll get caught up in, and the only time you have to really reflect is when you cross the next threshold. You don't think about how you were feeling January 1st of last year until you're looking at January 1st of this year. And then you're looking back and you're like, oh, wait a minute. I had thought about such and such and I had planned this and that and got behind you. You lost it. Writing, journaling, for lack of a better word. And it doesn't have to, you don't have to do some big flowery work of fucking art. Willem Dafoe does. Willem Dafoe is a bizarre character. Um, but you don't have to write, journal endlessly. Something, bullet points that will give you a chance to reflect on the things that are happening as they are happening. That you find yourself here and you're feeling a little distracted and you just take one day, say we find ourselves in oh, I don't know, say we find ourselves in April, right? Find ourselves in okay, well, wow, I seem to be off track and I'm not feeling too good about, so we can just dial it back to January and be like, oh, hey, this is what I had planned on. I've lost sight of that. I need to refocus. It's just a little something, And God, man, I'm not the fucking authority here. These are just things that I want to throw out to you to keep you in the moment and focused and reflective. Keep you straight. George, yeah, spot on. and you're definitely right, Roman. That is that's why that lyric fucking resonates, man. It's just like and you don't really get it, You think you do. When we were in our 20s and I was smoking weed and fucking yeah, man, yeah, not gonna let those 10 years get behind me. And then you look back at it when you're in your 40s and your 50s, you're like, fuck, wow. Stay focused, man. Little things. Be grateful for your blessings, man. Be grateful for the blessings you have on a personal level and the blessings you have in the people with whom you are surrounded. I'm really blessed here. There are a number of you over here in the which that's okay. That's which way I'm pointing. Sorry, you got to look at the production screen that I'm on here. A lot of people in the comments over here that have been dear friends of mine in real life for a long time. They are all blessings. Even those of you that I haven't met, I am blessed to have people out there in the ether with whom I've had no contact in real life that nevertheless are getting something out of what I'm trying to share. We're all gonna fucking die. Tick tock, motherfucker. It's coming. What do you leave behind? Who carries on? Mike, you're out there. You know what I said. Because you delivered the eulogy, man. I was not able to attend. But we were both there for the wake. Professor Howell passed. We were both there. But there are two deaths. I've actually gone into this in the sermon before. There are two times a man dies. One is when he takes his last breath. And the second time is the last time his name is spoken here in Midgard. Here in the world. Right? Midgard for my Ossiture guys out there. If I can offer you something, even if it's just a little piece of advice, some seemingly insignificant thing about, like, writing a de facto journal in a day runner, and I pass tomorrow and 10 years from now, that has given you something, I live on through you. It doesn't have to be grandiose fucking things. I was blessed with my father. Every good thing that I am as a man was passed to me by my father. But it doesn't have to be on that level. Sometimes the smallest bit that you share of yourself seems insignificant to you, but maybe it works out for somebody else. So don't be afraid to share. You might run it up the flagpole and nobody fucking salutes. Okay, so what? Another thing that I will come back to constantly, because it's fucking true, is that knowledge, the best gift in the fucking world, because it is literally the only gift that one can give and yet still have for himself. I have a fact. I have a piece of literature. I have a poem that I can recite. This, that. I share that with you. I give that to you. I still have it. And I can give it to someone else. I give it to Mike. Mike can give it to 4 people. I give it to Chief. Chief can give it to 10 people at a seminar somewhere. And yet we all have it. We still have it. This is the way that ideas are able to penetrate the culture. And seeing the cultural direction in which we are headed, those ideas, for many of us, are going to be the only things that we have to offer. What was it? It was Breitbart. Say what you want about Andrew Breitbart, but he was fucking right. Politics is downstream from culture. It's one of the reasons why this new direction, this weird change of pace, change of attitude that I'm having, is a lot more about, I want to impart something to you that doesn't have to be political, that transcends the political. Political is fucking temporary, man. But goddamn it, we better be focused on cultural. And we better be focused on personal. I will continue to observe the things that are going on in the world, and we'll get to that in a minute. Oh, Mike, I love that. Wow. Oh, wow. See? Thanks, Mike. I will touch on the things that are going on in the world, but only in so much as how it's going to affect you personally, how it's going to affect us culturally. What do you mean culturally, man? Kind of touching up on some dangerous areas there, Bart. Who are you talking about? I'm talking about my kin. I'm talking about my blood. I'm talking about the people who are flesh and blood to me, even though we may not be connected by that fucking DNA strand. I'm not excluding anybody. If you are in for those cultural values which have defined this god awesome Western civilization, if you are down for those fucking values and the preservation thereof, I will stand beside you. If all you want to do is gripe and bitch about how the world hasn't given you enough, then I won't stand with you at all. I won't break any bread with you. I'll barely acknowledge your existence. And if you step to me saying that this bit of brilliance, this time, this culture, this civilization, the greatest time in human history to be walking the face of this godforsaken rock, and you want to tear it down, bet your ass that I will stand against you. Plenty of proverbs out there. You guys already know. If they stand beside you, defend them. If they stand behind you, protect them. If they stand behind you, destroy them. Yeah, I mean, plenty. Real knowledge has a spreading tendency. Yes. This is also true. It's also true, Chief. Yes, David. Chief, you're right. Real knowledge does have a spreading tendency. What am I always saying here? Fundamentally, people are suckers for what? Suckers for the truth. And the truth gets around everything. Hailing back to the Soviet era, some of the stuff that we were talking about. You want to talk about media control? You will talk about media control and the way, and again, deep state does exercise it. Government does work with big tech to censor. Yes, all of these things are true. Elon was kind enough to put that out there. But they have nothing on what the Soviets were able to do. Why? Because there weren't as many sources of information out there. And with an authoritarian regime in power, it was far easier to control. You could jam radio signals coming over from Europe, but you couldn't get them all. Couldn't get them all. But you could largely jam incoming radio and television signals from Europe. You could make sure, because there were so few, I mean, just a couple of television networks, all government controlled, couple of state sanctioned newspapers, totally government controlled. Anything else was banned. Like you could go to the Gulag for fucking handing out copies of an American news magazine back when American magazines actually still did something resembling news. Think about those guys, man. And yet, what happened? No matter how tight they fucking pulled, no matter how tight they clamped down, it was not enough. You understand me? It wasn't enough. Because fundamentally, people are suckers for what? The truth. And the truth gets spread by a million little conversations like the one that we're having right now. True story, Chief. True story. I see you, Lone Star. And ultimately, an idea. Certain German with a funny mustache was fond of that, but it's true. Nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. Time for the truth is any time. There is no truth under the sun that I would not wish known to all men in the world, says Thomas Jefferson. I will remember you said that, says Sally Hemings. All right, we move on. Ah. Continue to speak that truth. Continue to find the people with whom you have that bond. Cultural values. We may not be the same on all fronts, particularly with politics. One of the reasons I want to get away from that, because politics, fuck politics. You're a Republican, you're a Democrat, I don't give a shit. Straight, gay, don't care. Don't care who and how you fuck. How you choose to worship. Provided your doctrine doesn't mandate killing everyone who disagrees with you. Well, yeah, but all religions are equally violent. Stop. Stop. In doctrine versus in practice, you want to compare the body counts? Before your ass brings up the fucking Crusades, let me point out two things. Number one, the Crusades were a defensive reaction. And number two, we're not having this conversation in the 14 fucking hundreds. Okay. Okay. That was, yeah, a little, yep, tangent, yep, you're right. Culture, man. Find what you have in common culturally. Find your tribe. I had the privilege of seeing Timothy Leary, 1990, 1991, I think it was. Say what you want about Tim Leary. But that one lecture that I went to changed my entire perspective. I was still very, very young and searching and stepping outside of some of the misguided things that I've been brought up with. But even then, he was largely focused on people finding their tribe. I still have, to this day, I still have my notes from that lecture, including an autograph that he signed for my then toddler daughter. To Alexandria from Bard and me, Dr. Timothy Leary. I still have my notes from that fucking lecture. The bulk of it was on tribes being the only truly sustainable, independent of a larger, cohesive civilization. It's the largest unit that could prosper and still maintain everyone's individuality. Now, again, we could get off into the nuances and pluses and minuses of all this stuff. But when you are aligning yourself, you better think in terms of try. And we hear that a lot on a political level. Tribalism is bad. Tribalism, yeah, okay, fine. When it gets into straight up nothing but team sports, but culturally, I think that tribalism is not only not bad, but in fact fucking necessary. Because that is how cultures and civilizations and bloodlines and nation states and peoples are created. Peoples, plural. The different peoples of the world, the different populace, and different, all of that. So we're getting away from the politics because politics is downstream from culture. We got to save the culture before we can start talking about politics. We got to have some common uniting value. Was 89 at U of H. I was there. Joel, why does that not fucking surprise me? And glad you're here, by the way, Joel. That was 89, yes. U of H, and I cannot remember which hall. I wish Dennis were here for this because it's a funny story. We actually stalked Timothy Leary, and that is how we were able to meet him. We hung out back of the venue, and we waited until the student union guys brought him out, and we essentially followed him. Yeah, we were in a little fucking Toyota something, and we actually followed the vehicle that the student union guys took Dr. Leary in, and they wound up at a place called Bira Paredes off of Kirby downtown, and we stalked them all the way up to the front door of the fucking restaurant, man. They were walking in, and we kind of walked up like Dr. Leary, and the student union people. And this again, hashtag true Bard stories. Weird fucking thing, man. It was almost like a Christ moment because we were walking up wanting to meet Dr. Leary, and the student union people were like, no, sorry, no, we gotta, no, don't come close to Dr. Leary. And I swear to you, man, it was almost this Jesus thing. Because Dr. Leary was like, no, hey, no, you guys are welcome. Suffer the little children to come unto me, do not hinder them. That's what the fuck it felt like. It was weird, man. But he invited us. We all sat down at this one long fucking table, and everybody got to meet and hug Dr. Leary. I have never been around an energy like Timothy Leary's before or since. And I was still very young, and I was still in the course of my emergence. But that lecture and the deep dive that I did afterwards shaped my worldview, shaped my way of thinking, shaped everything. Yep, did it again. Uh, Tribal. Find that tribe. Find those shared cultural values. Find the people with whom you are bonded, and it doesn't have to be blood. In fact, more often it'll be stronger if it isn't. Because blood we don't have a choice about. I don't even know most of my actual blood. I only met my birth mother just a few years ago, man. But the people who are close to me, for instance, my adoptive father, who I lost this year, last year now, that was my father. That was the only father I ever needed, only father I ever wanted. You feel me? Find the people who are good to you. Find the people that you can be good to. Find the people that love you. Find the people that you love. That is what you can do going forward into the new year. That is the focus, where your focus should be heading into the times to come, man. I got a couple of things that I want to read to you here, and then we'll get into the rest of it. Pay close attention, please. First is from Brother Sonny Puzikas. Re-solutions, or just solutions. Clever turn of clever turn of that word, resolutions, re-solutions, or just solutions. 2023 edition. Things didn't get done. Goals weren't achieved. Dreams didn't materialize. So that must mean I need to proclaim to the world that I have made firm decision to yet again recycle that magic New Year's resolution thing that is surely to impress all. Please don't. Instead, do something good for you today. There are 7 days in a week. Someday is not one of them. You feel that? Someday is not one of them. Do a push up. Read a page, call a friend, make a meal, give an advice, listen to one. Talk about concrete things you can and will change. Talk to those close to you. Say a prayer. There's power in that. Say a prayer. Mean what you say. Ask for help to be shown what is good for you. Don't ask for prosperity. Ask for help to learn to forgive. That's one I have a lot of trouble with. I feel you on that one, Brother Sonny. Don't ask for the suffering upon those you don't like. Do another push-up. Those of you that know Sonny are laughing. That. Don't seek inspiration. Inspiration isn't a bad thing, but is an outside stimulus that won't result in anything tangible besides a few minutes of mental euphoric high, unless you work on forging discipline ceaselessly. Discipline, what does it mean? It's not a shiny possession to showcase to others. It's ability to maintain objective critical thinking about your own path. Thoughts, words, actions. It isn't discipline to do that in regards to others. You tracking? Feel this shit. Feel this. It's actually a sign of weakness, a symptom of cowardice, turning inwards. If you want to fix the world, best place to start is me. Be forgiving to others, not yourself. One of the hardest commandments, we are told to love others as we love ourselves. Stop, think, slow down. This is where the standard changes. This is where fixing begins. Introduce toughness into loving yourself first. Let it start changing you. Then and only then, your love for others can be beneficial, and not the kind that nurtures lies, self-deception, love yourself as you are, falseness. That postmodernism pushes as the new standard of being good human. Be resolute instead of proclaiming resolutions. I'm going to say that again. I want you guys tracking, I want you guys to feel this shit. Be resolute instead of proclaiming resolutions. Be steadfast in finding solutions, implementing changes, not setting up on that's acceptable. Don't wake up hoping for okay day, for average output, for mediocre results. Instead, pray to do mundane, simple things with gratitude. What were we just talking about? Simple, mundane things with gratitude. Not bitching about how meaningless it is. This is the forge of discipline, the highest form of using free will to develop attributes needed to see and do what is good. I wish you a resolute 2023 where every day brings clear purpose to build another layer of discipline. I wish all of us can learn to find happiness in that process and emerge tougher, more loving, more demanding of ourselves, and more forgiving of others. May God bless us all. Brother Sonny Pazikas. We find ourselves, as often happens, of one mind on much of that. Forgiveness Forgiveness is one that I have a lot of trouble with. Much of that is coming as a result of what it really means to forgive. Being able to put it behind you. That doesn't mean roll over and play dead. Doesn't mean anything as far as weakness. What I'm about to hit you about what I put in my New Year's post about the Stoics, man. It only has as much importance as I choose to accord it. You feel me? You tracking? I don't have to re-embrace you if you have done me a wrong. I don't have to embrace you in the first place if I see that you are not a person of strong character or common ground, common interest. But I don't have to accord it any energy. I don't have to actively hate you. Hate is something, hate and anger, something that I've wrestled with my entire fucking life. It's still there, but I'm learning. And I'm actually making the effort. To let go, to forgive. I don't have to go out of my way to hate you. If you put yourself in front of me and try to impose your will on me, that earns my hatred. But even then, that's dealt with quickly and efficiently enough. You expect honesty or hold them accountable if they are not. Yep. Perfectly valid observation, Chief. I got one more that I want to share with you. And this is mine. It's posted on my personal page. You guys can take these posts and you can share them, and I hope that you will. And I hope that you guys get something out of it. This year, this is the Reverend. This year has been one of trial and triumph. I lost my beloved father, from whom all of my best qualities are learned. Several dear friends will not greet the new year with us, all taken far too early, and some with neither rhyme nor apparent reason. A sense of foreboding ominously pervades the cultural zeitgeist. 1,000 phantoms loom in the fog of the everyday background noise, seeking to upend all that is right and good and cast us into despair and darkness. The world keeps doing what the world does. However, in my world, I enter another year with a solid trade under my belt. Thank you, Ryan. The quality of my life has improved immeasurably. I have a certain degree of security. I had a great year of growth at one gig and moved seamlessly to another, and I truly love what I do. The world, as a result, doesn't seem as overwhelming. My bond with my beloved wife, Miss Charlie. Hope you're watching, honey. Love you. Has survived what is easily the hardest and scariest that we have faced together. The weight of her diagnosis at the start of this year was daunting. But we finished the year on what looks like the tail end of another trial that we have faced together and risen above. And I took a major step in repairing my own physical damage. The world is thus less frightening, less painful, more manageable, more walkable, I should also add. My circle has narrowed, and the bonds with those men and women that remain have become tighter and more sacred, and you know who you are. I have rededicated myself to those that count and shed the dead weight and toxicity of those who do not. Tracking? And I have become much more discerning and less forgiving in ascertaining the difference. Again, forgiveness doesn't mean that I give them a pass. Forgiveness is not giving them the energy. I continue. I become much more discerning and less forgiving in ascertaining the difference. I'm not forgiving myself. I'm holding myself to a high standard with tight restrictions and principles. Thankfully, the world was kind enough to present events that showed people for exactly who they are. I am blessed beyond measure to live in an industrialized Western nation in what is irrefutably, for all its shortcomings and failings, the greatest place and greatest time in human history for one to exist on this godforsaken rock. The labors of my own hands have given me an advantage even among those existing blessings, and my own efforts have given me the comfort of knowing that the world and all its ambivalence, if not hostility to our very existence, has far less weight on my life than it may once have held. The world can be as bitter, cold, ugly, uncertain, dark, depraved, cruel, and uncaring as it ever was. It is the natural order and natural state of affairs. My world, your world, only has to be affected by that darkness insomuch as I allow it to be. I cleave to the Stoics in my belief that things outside myself have only the importance that I accord them within that natural order. And if some sentient mortal decides to go the natural order one better and impose an unwanted effect upon me, I cleave to the Aesir and to my ancestors in having the strength to oppose and destroy them. And even in that, the decision remains mine. So what I wish for you all going forward into the new year is this. Be mindful of the world and its perils. Observe and remain aware constantly and vigilant of the events that play out on life's grand stage and of the players themselves and their motivations and their sinister machinations. Look to history for a window into the nature of what is and about the probabilities of what is to come. Be ye not oblivious nor aloof to the darkness and cruelty that exists and walks among us and seeks to drag us, kicking and screaming, into the morass of mediocrity or the abyss of annihilation. But take control and ownership of your world. Cultivate the wisdom to discern truth from falsehood, bluster from courage, true wisdom from mere dogma. Cultivate the courage to stand on your principles and convictions against those who seek to drag you into the pit of their own lack of either in the interest of conformity and expediency. Cultivate the strength to defend the decisions you make and the actions you take based on those principles and convictions. Challenge yourself every day, mentally, spiritually, and physically, in pursuit of those aims. It was being challenged by Brother Sonny, I should point out, in the blazing hot Texas sun back in 2011. That jarred my worldview, jostled and retooled my perspective, and made me want to seek out those new challenges and be a better, stronger person. So thank you for that, Brother Sonny. Never forget. To defend those decisions you make and the actions you take based on those principles and convictions, challenge yourself every day, mentally, spiritually, and physically, in pursuit of those aims. Give yourself that measure of certainty in an increasingly uncertain world. In the days to come, nothing will be as important. And remember the prime directives. Be the signal that penetrates the noise. Be the light that illuminates the darkness. And be the strength that overwhelms, throws into stark contrast, and ultimately crushes the weakness. I wish you all the blessings of the year to come. I am the Reverend, and that is the gospel. Amen. That was my wish for all of you going forward. Legacy to that warrior 2023 needs to take notice. I gave you my perspective on that. Chief, Brother James, my path, my gods are the ones that bring the thunder. And a storm to mark her passage was obviously a blessing. In my bullet points, I told you that mice have shown us the way and white bears will deliver us. And you guys are thinking to yourselves, what the fuck? This is actually probably going to be a little anticlimactic. But in the grand scheme of things, what do I mean by the mice have shown us the way? You guys are familiar. You guys remember a little movie that came out, The Secret of NIMH? Yeah? The mice, Secret of NIMH, NIMH. Where the fuck would they get the National Institutes of Mental Health? National Institutes of Mental Health funds all kinds of experiments because they realize that we really aren't that different from animals. and that trends in behavior can be easily marked between species. They did a little experiment called Universe 25. I and Brother Brett Bennett posted an article on it. All you have to do is enter Google search term Universe 25 experiment. It'll pull you up a dozen things. You can follow it down as far as you want to go. But an ethologist, John B. Calhoun, the premise was he was going to create a utopia for mice. Predator free, disease free, limitless food. Upper level even had miniature mouse condos. All of the modern conveniences. Total comfort. No trial, no tribulation, no pain, no suffering, no adversity. Oh, you'd think that would be an ideal thing. And it was. I'm reading directly from one article that I found on this, and this was on Medium.com. Just going to give you an overview. 4 pairs of healthy mice introduced into the enclosure. 4 pairs. 104 days they explored, marked their territory, began nesting. Population doubled every 55 days. And keep in mind, everything they need right there for them. Interestingly, even when the population was well under a quarter of the enclosure's capacity, most of the mice still crowded together in select areas. Social creatures. Eating, for example, was a shared activity, so the mice would group together during feeding times, even though there was plenty of space to eat by themselves. We want to be close. We want to be close. Social creatures. Day 315, population reaches 620. Crowding behavior discouraged fucking. They use the word mating, but I'm drawing the direct parallel. Crowding behavior, when you're all on top of each other like that, and nobody's got fucking time or the room, discouraged fucking. Imagine that. Birth rates start to drop. Social ladder starts to take place. Then the males, most dominant, extremely aggressive. But the violence escalated quickly. Bloodbaths was how the scientists described it. Attack, rape, cannibalism of weaker mice. And half the time, these outbursts had no apparent provocation, motive, nothing. We're not killing them because we need to eat them. We've got plenty of food. We've got plenty of space. We're not killing them over territory. We got all the fucking space we could ask for. Holy fuck. Why? It's in the blood. It's in the nature. Rest of the mice that weren't alphas spent their time moving between the larger groups, eating and sleeping by themselves. They would occasionally fight. The timid mice, well, became natural-born victims. Draw the parallels that you will. Now here's an important point. As social roles broke down, females took on more aggressive attitudes of their own, almost exhibiting masculine behavior. Taking care of their nests in the midst of such chaotic domain was no easy task, so many mothers would sometimes act violently toward their own litters. You tracking here? Others would completely withdraw from their maternal responsibilities, ignoring their litters and quitting mating practices entirely. We're just not going to fuck anymore. No parallels, though, of course. No parallels. It took the downturn, but then a whole different group of mice emerged. They called the beautiful ones. And I'm going to read this verbatim because it's important. They were segregated from the other bloodthirsty mice and the violence that plagued the rest of the enclosure. They weren't bothered by the ugliness of the world. Do you feel me? Okay, I punctuated that. I'm not exactly reading it verbatim. Their subsequently unruffled appearances were the inspiration for their name. Furthermore, being separated from the rest of the Universe 25 mice, the beautiful ones ready? Made no contributions to the society. The mice gave no help in mating, mothering, marking territory. They spent all their time feeding, drinking, grooming, and sleeping. And eventually, these useless, beautiful motherfuckers outnumbered the more aggressive ones. But rather than fucking, creating a new social order, they just kept doing what was right for them. Eating, drinking, grooming, and sleeping. I'll let you guys draw it. The mice. Actually, they had the equivalent of, George. They really did. They had the condos upstairs, but yeah. I like that observation. The mice have shown us the way. Not the way we need to be going, but the mice have shown us the way in the context of a cautionary tale. Because all we have to do is look around, and I want you guys to go down that hole. I want you guys to do that research. Look into Universe 25. When I posted it the other day, and it's right there on the page, one article is right there on the page, there's plenty. But I posted the one, and of course, predictably, people come out of the woodwork. Yeah, well, that's mice, and it doesn't apply, and there are too many intellectual gymnastics. Fail! Because those parallels are fucking direct. Do the research. Draw the parallels on your own fucking accord. Don't let other people gaslight you and say, oh yeah, well they talk about Universe 25, but it really didn't have anything to do with anything. Okay, fine. Don't be gaslit. Do your own fucking homework. Read that. They have shown us the way in terms of a cautionary tale. Most definitely have shown us the way. But the white bears are going to save us. Fuck are you talking about? What do you know about the white bear theory? Here's the way the white bear theory works. You watch me. Ready? Okay? I want you to close your eyes. Okay? All right. And listen to my voice. Okay. I want you to very specifically not think about a white bear. Let me give it 10 or 15 seconds. Whatever you think of anything in the world, but do not think of a white bear. Particularly not a fuzzy white bear. No fuzzy white bears. Do not think about a white bear. How fucking successful is that? There's a book that I read years and years and years ago, probably 1990, 1991, called White Bears and Other Unwanted Thoughts. This is the way the white bear theory works. The more deliberate an attempt you make to push down certain thoughts is going to bring them to the surface. This is why white bears are going to save us. Because in spite of our best efforts, they're constantly telling us to push down those fucking feelings that we have. When it comes to gaslighting, even looking at things like the Universe 25 experiment, right? When it comes to the way that they gaslight us, they just want us to bury this. But fundamentally, people are suckers for what? The truth. So the more effort they put into telling us, don't think about this, the more it's going to come up. All of the issues that they try to bury, all of the parallels, like in the experiment we just discussed, that are happening right now in front of our very fucking eyes, and they tell us, no, that's not it. That's not it. Oh, grocery prices? Oh, no, that's something else entirely. Oh, inflation's got nothing to do with that fucking cadaver in the Oval Office. Monetary policy, we change that drop of a fucking hat. Don't have money for a border wall, but $150 billion to fucking Zelensky? I mean, he's a hero. What the hell is wrong with you that you wouldn't think he's a hero? Vaccines work. Masks are effective. The mandates are a good thing. The lockdowns were a good thing. The more they tell us to push these things down, we know we are being gaslit, the more it's going to emerge and the more we are going to re-examine it. And I'll go you one better. We tend to suppress our own vulnerabilities and fragilities when we are up against it like this. All of the things that are bearing down on us, we try to push to the fucking side. Particularly men, fellas, I know you feel me on this because it's how we are wired biologically. Bill Burr has some great bits on that. Push it down until it becomes a tumor and you die of a heart attack. Push it down, right? But guess what happens? White bear fucking psychology. The more we try to push down and not think about our vulnerabilities, it's going to come roaring back. We're going to examine those vulnerabilities. We're going to examine them in a light of fucking perfect epiphanous clarity. Epiphanous, that's my college word. I got like 3 of those. It's going to come up. And we will find a way to address it. What they wish for us not to see is exactly what is going to become the object of our primary focus. Do you feel me? I'm tracking. And going forward into the new year, as I said in my post, what I wish for you all is the clarity. My own version of the serenity prayer here. Last thing in the world you'd expect from the Reverend. I wish you the clarity to discern the truth from the lies. I wish you the strength to deal with your own weaknesses and vulnerabilities, to resolve them, and to give yourself the strength to deal with not only the things that affect your day-to-day life, but the unpleasantries with which the world may approach you. The way that events outside of your control may actually have a tangential effect on your life. I wish you the strength to get through that. But ultimately, I'm going to come back to the D word, discernment. Discernment and deciding what level of import and gravity to accord to these things as they cross your path. I wish you the discernment to make those wise decisions. And as I said, while paying attention to the darkness of the world, I wish you the clarity to bring strength and balance to your world. Stay focused moving forward. As Brother Sonny said, be harder on yourself and easier on everyone else. That doesn't mean roll over and play dead for bad people. That means put them out of thought, man. Clean up your own backyard before you go knocking on your neighbor's door. And a lot of us out here, myself included, have a lot of fucking cleaning that is long overdue in that backyard. Going forward into 2023, I know where my focus is. It's clearing up the head, the heart, the soul, and the balls to get my focus back, to stay moving forward, and bring myself to the point that no matter what the world does, that my world, your world, going to be just fine. And let the world know that they fuck with that stability, that they fuck with that solidity, that they fuck with your world, my world, at their own fucking peril. I am the Reverend. That is the gospel. Appreciate you guys being here. Oh, I love you guys, man. It has been one hell of a year. And moving forward into the next one, there's going to be plenty more trials and tribulations ahead, man. Got to be ready for all of them, but you got to bring it home first. Challenge yourself. What did Brother Sonny say? Do a push-up. Can't figure out something else to do? Do one fucking push-up. Or 5. Read one page. Something. Make your world better. Get it right. Like I said, this new direction we're taking with the sermon, I will continue to acknowledge the darkness of the world. But we're going to focus on your world, my world, getting that right. More affirmational than confrontational. Although we ain't afraid to get a little confrontational. Build the skills for that as well. Much love right back at you, brother. Much love right back at you. Thanks to all of you guys. You like that, Roman? You digging it? I'm pretty comfortable with it myself, man. I feel like I'm settling into that groove, and it feels good and it feels right. I love y'all. Appreciate it. After the sermon, obligatory passing around. Oh, I didn't tell you about the Hellfire Club. Yeah, so I picked this up. I've never seen a single episode of Stranger Things. Never, right? I just saw a Hellfire Club at fucking Walmart for like $8, and I was like, oh, fuck, man, I'll throw $8 at that, because I'm thinking Hellfire Club like Ben Franklin, like the Secret Society Hellfire Club. Weird, you know. But yeah, somebody had to school me. They were like, oh yeah, so you're a Stranger Things fan? And I'm like, I've never seen a single fucking episode, right? And they were like, oh, well, let's talk to you about the Stranger Things program. And I'm like, no, let me talk to you about the actual Hellfire Club and Ben Franklin and the founders and some of the weirdness. So, you know, it's a conversation starter. So, you know, $8 on a t-shirt that, you know, maybe gets me into some cool conversations. That's what happened with the shirt. That's why I'm wearing this. Everybody like, dude, you don't seem like a Stranger Things kind of guy. Dude, I am Stranger Things, just not the fucking program. Anyway, sermon's up, so we're going to pass around that digital collection plate. Yeah, true story. A lot of wisdom to be found in that. Brother Jordan Peterson for the win. I'm going to pass around that digital collection plate, guys. If you can toss me a little coin, feel like it. If anything changed your perspective, shaped your worldview, whatever, you want to throw me a little something, hey, man, I'm on PayPal, I'm on Zelle, I'm on Cash App, I'm on Venmo, I'm on Facebook Pay, name it. I'm out there. If you guys want to throw me something, that would be fantastic. If you can't, or won't, and I get either one really, because A, I'm kind of a dick, and B, we are living in a Biden economy. You might not have that kind of coin to throw around, and that's fucking fine. That is absolutely fantastic. You don't have to justify that at all. Tell you what you can do for me though, if you don't mind. As I said before, if you've got social media of your own, you're on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, preferably one of the platforms I've been banned from, man. If you guys would be so kind as to share all of my reverends, rangers, all of my sinner sisters, all of my prophets of doom out there, let them know, man, this fat, toothless fucking cripple, crane operator with some opinions, he gets on and rants and raves every Sunday for a couple hours. He's a like mind, he's a kindred spirit, he's got some fucked up ideas, but he's basically a good guy. Tries to be, endeavors to be anyway. You might want to check him out. Maybe it'll do something for you. And share, man. Spread the gospel. First and foremost, what you do, not just for me, but primarily for yourself. Remember those prime directives, man. Keep bringing them home. Brought them home again in the New Year's post on my Facebook page. Remember, man. They will try to bury you with the noise. That signal-to-noise ratio, they'll try to bury you with the fucking noise. All the distractions, all the, meaningless nonsense. You gotta be that signal that cuts through the noise. They'll try to bury you in the darkness, man. They will try to dehumanize, demoralize, despiritualize, emasculate you with the darkness. You can feel like there's no way out, but there is. You gotta be that light. Be that light that illuminates and breaks through the fucking darkness. And here's number one, the prime directive, the iron rule, is you have got to be that strength. They will try to bury you with weakness, your own and everybody else's. You got to be that strength in a world full of weakness, because without that strength, you can't be the signal, and you can't be the light without that strength. So be that strength that crushes, buries the weakness. Love all of you guys, man. Be back next Sunday. Appreciate y'all being here, man. Every single one of y'all made me feel like less of a lone voice in the wilderness. Thank you for everything you do. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. I love you. See you next Sunday. Happy New Year, man. Let's make it a good one. Your world, my world. Fuck the world. Bury it in 2023. Love y'all.